2, what's up? 2. Check 2. Today on TRRS, we'll be talking about the testicles. Sexual intercourse. It really is like that sometimes, though, isn't it? We joke, but it really is like that sometimes on this show. How are you doing, folks? A little late getting started today. Little late getting started today. It's going to be a shorter stream. I was my podcast co-host Jordan Yule is away this week, so I was hosting Insurgents podcast episode, putting that together this morning. I talked to Nima Shirazi of the Citations Needed podcast about this whole Iran situation, and it was really fantastic, but I was a little late getting started because I was getting that ready to go. There's going to be a shorter stream today. Yes, I love Citations Needed. I think it's really one of the best podcasts. Yeah, so being someone that has written a lot about Iran, Israel, Palestine, and someone that, you know, day in, day out on the show, breaks down the way the media functions and the various tactics and the way the media manipulates language specifically to manufacture certain narratives. You know, that's exactly what Citations Needed really deals with a lot. It's been really useful, I think, to listen to, and it's really helped me, I think, with my media criticism. But so someone that talks about Iran, Palestine, and the way the media works, it was a kind of perfect person to have on to talk about this, and it was really fantastic. It's supposed to be a bonus episode, but I unlocked it for everyone. So please listen. Please listen to that episode with Nima. Please listen to the episode with Nima. It's right there in the link there. It's opened up for everybody, so. How dare you share my paid slop with the hugs? As I'm just shoveling the sandwich into my face. Even though it's a short stream today, I wanted to make sure we got the mukbang aspect in as well. I know everyone loves to see me munch on stuff, so wanted to make sure that was included, even if we're low on time overall. It's very funny, Max. Very funny. Whoa, almost done here. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, that was very good. Very good. And of course, Chin. Oh. That hits the spot. Okay, I'm going to put my plate away because I'm low on desk space. Even though I have a massive L-shaped desk ensconcing me in this little corner in this room, I'm just surrounded by a desk at all angles, yet there's no surfaces to put a plate, so... My desk is always covered with shit. The problem is you clean up the stuff and you wipe down the desk, and then like 3 days later, it's like, what the hell's all this? What the hell's all this? What's this? You know, I hate that shit. It's so frustrating. Because of all the other plates, no. I'm not the neatest person. I'll own up to that. I'm not the neatest person, but I am good about not necessarily washing the dishes in a timely manner, but removing the dishes from the surfaces
count on me.
and putting
You're gonna
them in
have good
their
old Rob to talk you
prescribed
through
area.
all this.
Waldo's, thanks for the Prime. 27 months of Prime. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Waldo's. You'll notice as well, look at this outfit I got going on right here too. Yes. Very like vacation-y outfit right now. Orange adjacent. These are my yellow shorts. I got these yellow shorts a while ago and I don't love them. I don't wear them when I go out often, but around the house, they're good around the house shorts. Why are you showing your leggies? I'm mostly just showing my outfit right now. I'm a very like middle-aged dad on vacation look right now. Like I was just doing this. I was actually just, full disclosure, I was like shirtless in my yellow shorts here doing the podcast editing and putting that together, and then I was going to start the stream and I was like, oh shit. And I just went and picked this shirt up off the floor. Well, not the floor, but the closet. I have a system. I have a laundry system where, you know, you have the stuff that's hanging up, you have the stuff that's in the drawers, you have the stuff that's in the laundry hamper. But sometimes there's kind of an in-between phase, isn't there? Sometimes there's an in-between zone. And that's where things just end up on my closet floor, basically. Like just piling up in kind of a pile on the closet. It's not clean, it's not dirty, you know, it's kind of this gray area. You know what I'm talking about, folks. You get a useless chair for that. No, I'm all about the closet. Are you saying you're wearing dirty clothes? No, because when the clothes are dirty, I wash them. Like jeans that have 2 more wears in them? Yeah, absolutely. Bonbon's got a closet pile. Yeah, Bill Murray does give an excellent synopsis of the stages of cleaning the documentary film. Ghostbusters 2. There are many subtle levels. Exactly. That stuck with me. All this time. No, so it's quite an outfit I got going on here. Sometimes I really do lean into the whole like bachelor thing. You know, I'll admit. But you know what? It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice, honestly. I'm embracing this era. socialist streamer has a closet. That's right. Yeah, you'll never believe. You'll never believe the opulence that this man is living in. This may shock some, but scientists have concluded jeans don't really need to be washed. I mean, if you don't need to be washing your jeans after every wash, unless you're just like a filthy, disgusting person, which I'm not. You know, if you spill stuff on them, okay. I was just wearing some jeans yesterday. In fact, they're probably my favorite jeans. They're kind of like a stretchy jean. You know, and it's nice. I like to wear those. They're not that kind of stiff denim feel. But I spilled some stuff on them, so now those are getting washed. But it had been a while that I had been wearing those, so I got to admit. Remember when you made your dad watch Stalin, Grandpa? I legitimately will probably remember that for the rest of my life. Good. My dad's the one that gave me this Lenin bust. You know, I don't think my dad is like a communist himself or a Marxist or whatever. He's got some fairly interesting ideas about stuff, you know? Like most boomers, I think he's sometimes kind of all over the place. But he knows what I like. And he listens to this show and listens to a lot of the stuff that I do and thinks that it's cool. My dad really loves the movie Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. So I think he looks at the stuff that I'm doing now and he's like, yeah, he thinks it's so cool. But yes, that was funny when he appeared on the on the show. I think he was pretty thrilled. What is your dad? I have not talked to my dad about gooning. No. In fact, I just overall, I don't know if other people have this feeling, but you know, I love my dad, and I've got brothers, and I love them, and you know, I love my family, but I'm really bad at keeping in touch with people, even people that I care, like that I love, people in my family. Like, I'm just really not good at it. That's something that I need to work on. For a while, me and my dad were like hanging out a little bit more and kind of like making the effort, but I think we both end up like withdrawing, and not for any real reason or no one's fault or anything, but like, and I'm like this with my brothers as well. I just probably don't talk to them enough. It's hard, you know? It is. But my dad's a very cool guy, though. Yeah, I got 2 older brothers. They're actually my half brothers, but they're my brothers. Have I not ever mentioned that? I guess I gotta keep things to myself. One of my brothers is in this chat often. I've never identified him, but he goes through periods where he shows up in the chat for like a week at a time, and then he disappears and he comes back. Are you the baby? Yes, I am. Yes. My older brothers are 4 and 8 years older than me. I'm floored by this. Okay, there we go. You're learning new stuff. You're learning new stuff. I don't want to comment on whether they know what gooning is or anything about that. We don't need to talk about that. But yes. Is it Marty? Yes, it is. Marty is one of my brothers. That's exactly right. He's just playing a coy right now. Whole bunch of piss and cum badges who don't even know you. You do. You do, chat, okay? You do. I'm sure I've mentioned that before. Let me see. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I'll see if I can show you something. One moment. If you sub for long enough, you become Rob's brother. That's right. That's the top tier of the friendship triangle system. Opening this. Don't worry, this is going to be worth it, chat. God. Oh gosh. Okay, you ready for this? Here's a picture of my brother and I from when we were kids. You ready for this? Here you go. Just guys being dudes. Just guys being dudes. Couple of guys being dudes over there. Little treat. Don't say that I don't give you intimate details about my life, all right? Just bros being fellas. Yeah, I was a blonde kid, that's right. Once a clown, always a clown. Oh, wow. Okay. There we go. I see. I see. When are we gonna get a clown makeup stream? I don't believe that was ever discussed or agreed upon. Intimate details like being a clown baby. Genuinely no idea which one of those you were. Do you and your brothers look alike? Well, the thing is we were both wearing clown makeup there, so. If I remember correctly, that was taken, that picture, at the Blue Skies Music Festival in Clarendon, Ontario.
You can count on me.
Probably
You're gonna have good old
around the
Rob
year
to talk you through all this.
Proud member of the
6.
Clownship Triangle.
Sorry, I lost you. Who is this? Cutman. Cutman, thanks for the 32 months. I appreciate it. We're like Clowntario. Like goodness. Chat unleashed. Chat is unleashed today and unhinged. So this evening I'm going to see Civil War. I'm going with me and Paris Marks Paris Marks and I are going to see Civil War tonight, which I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be dumb as hell, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I think we might be able to kind of glean some kind of meaning from it, even if it is dumb and politically incoherent. I keep seeing mixed reviews. Libs seem to be losing their shit over it. I mean, it seems like, I haven't looked into it that much, but it just, from everything that I've seen said about this movie from Alex Garland and whoever else, is like, yeah, it seems like a very kind of liberal message about polarization, you know? Polarization. There's both sides. There's two sides, and everyone's entrenched, and everyone wants to disagree, and blah de blah de blah de blah. You know? But I don't know. I don't want to prejudge it. Maybe it's going to be good. That seems to be the kind of message that I'm getting about the kind of like political characteristics of this film. There's no real kind of like class, as of course, there's no real kind of class analysis. There's no real comment on any kind of, you know, political formation that kind of caused this kind of breakup that happens. But honestly, it came across like Last of Us 2 very much thinks its shallow story has deeper meaning. I think that's an interesting take, PM Trio. Yeah, a very shallow message that thinks it's way more important and has more to say than it actually does. I wonder how much of a part Russia will play in the movie, or China. Yeah, I'm wondering about that as well. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Harris Marks of Tech Won't Save Us podcast is one of my movie buddies. We saw Dune 2 a few weeks ago. Now we're doing this. Will Canada be mentioned? I don't know. We'll see. Michelle says yes, without any spoilers, which I appreciate. Did you see that Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon movie recently about the collapse of America? Yes. And that was, like, I watched it. It was not good. It was somewhat enjoyable, but very, like, it's such a, like, a intelligence community propaganda. It's like the all of these sort of like the threats that we hear about, the cyber attack, the Havana syndrome, the disinformation, all these kind of liberal kind of, this is how the foreign invasion is going to take place, this new kind of hybrid warfare. It was really just that. And a lot of, and I think I get the same sense from Civil War as well, that you have this kind of underlying message that's like, it's all bad, every angle. It's like, yeah, the one side, they say bad things, the other side says bad things, no one's really in charge, everyone kind of sucks, everyone's out for themselves, there's no real cause of it, you know, nothing caused this to happen, this is just human nature, you know? I think that's the ultimately really reactionary message that's inherent to a lot of this kind of stuff. It's just human nature. People are just at each other's throats. You know, how did this stuff happen? Why do these like enemy nations like want to attack America with Havana syndrome or whatever? Well, we don't know. It's just because there's just this chaos. It's very nihilistic. It's a very nihilistic viewpoint, which speaks to the creative team behind it, including Barack Obama. What if it's actually revolutionary defeatist? Yeah, maybe. Maybe that is it. It's America just throwing in the towel, just being like, we're screwed. We're screwed. There's nothing we can do. The baddies are coming for us. Libs just love to buy into the theory that things just are because no one did this. No decisions were made. Exactly. I mean, there's a specific line in that movie that Marshall Ali says, and he's just like, there's no conspiracy. There's no one in charge. You know, everyone's just kind of like confused and doing their own thing, and there's no like ruling class, you know? It's a very like, there is no mafia moment. He explicitly says that. He's like, I've been to the meetings. I've talked to the elites. No one is in charge. No one knows what they're doing. There's no conspiracy. There's no collusion. And it's like, I think there is, sir. I think there absolutely is. Right, the deep state. Oh, the deep state, that's just a conspiracy. It's the same as unprecedented Iran attacks. No history whatsoever. No one's calling all the shots, but I did later get a call from a general with a 48-hour heads up on this about to happen. Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting coincidence. That's an interesting way of phrasing it, Johnny. Liberalism requires neat little bubbles with hard exteriors. There's no reverberations of history between each bubble. Yeah, we see it time and time again, right? We see it in Israel when history began. We see it in Ukraine when history began. The history begins when we say it does, and all prior incidents and prior context just has no impact on that, on any of these events. Just because they don't know what they're doing doesn't mean they aren't in charge. Yeah, or Dakanuna gets to the whole, like, the Parenti thing. You know, of course what do you think, they meet in rooms? Yes, they meet in rooms, in boardrooms, the CEOs and shareholders, the Situation Room at the White House, hotel conference rooms. Yes, they meet in rooms, and they have the same class interests. They overall have the same kind of like ideology, and they're working together to keep perpetuating that. You know, it's not that controversial to point this out. It's not a conspiracy. It's in fact right out in the open. That's quite literally what they do. Of course they meet in rooms. Yeah, and Carlin, I always loved that Carlin clip from, I believe it was from Politically Incorrect. It obviously didn't have any impact on Bill Maher, but yeah, you don't need a conspiracy when you have similar interests. They all go to all the same clubs, the same country clubs, the same Ivy League colleges, the same fucked up secret societies, the same cocktail parties, the same fundraisers. You know, it's not that complicated. There's literally a room called the Situation Room that these people meet in to make the biggest decisions. I'm sure they have smaller rooms for smaller decisions. There's multiple rooms. There's all kinds of different rooms. Yes, they meet in rooms. Yeah, and they do also talk about shit. Exactly. Always found it strange when nihilism revolves around this subjective idealist will to power while also making overtures to some objective human nature that just coincidentally resembles social Darwinism. That's a great way of putting it, Dummy Darko. Yeah. And this is, you see the whole, that's neoliberalism too, right? It's the ideology is right under the surface. These neoliberals just, they don't think they have an ideology. Nope. I just kind of, we do what the market tells us, and we just kind of like try to find common sense solutions for each individual problem. And sometimes it's one thing and sometimes it's another thing. If you ask them, you can interrogate them by waterboarding, and they would tell you that they believe in nothing. They have no ideology. Yes, and there's objective human nature that just coincidentally resembles social Darwinism. That's exactly right. Yeah. The trivial matter room for deciding whether to change brands of office coffee. I wonder who's doing that at the White House. Who's that? Like it's not the chief of staff. Who's going up the chain? Like, what's the chain of approval for making those kinds of changes? If you think you have no ideology, you should be re-educated. Yes, absolutely. And ideology never says, I am ideological, as Althusser says. Yeah, that's somewhere I find Zizek to be somewhat somewhat good as well, even though I'm not really crazy about him for a number of reasons. But something that he does talk about with a certain eloquence. Helpful, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I agree. His stance on Ukraine is really something. He's the communist that fully supports. He's the pro NATO socialist celebrity. We're like Smellicants. Oh boy. He ran as a lib in the first election of Slovenia. Figures. It figures. Anyway, as I said, folks, it's a shorter stream today, you know. Not going to be here super long. I'll be here for about another hour and a half. If you do want to support this program, please do so. Please subscribe to TRRS or support the show if you can. I do appreciate it a lot. It helps keep this show on the air. And we become friends, and on a long enough timeline, we become brothers as well, or sisters, or whatever. He's always been trash. He's just got good PR. Well, it speaks to the leftists that are able to gain this kind of like clout in either academia or media or culture or whatever. You know, who's allowed to rise to those levels and who isn't. Yeah, dude, zoot, exactly. Clout climbing leftists don't tend to remain leftist long. No, that is true. That is true. That's why I'm mired in my very average levels of clout, and with no real ability to expand on that. But whatever. Who's even counting? It speaks to his role as, is that PR intelligentsia, that he's free to just waffle around in his political affiliation to whatever suits his personal career. Yeah, that's nice. I love that for him. So again, please subscribe if you can. Please subscribe to this program if you can. Help support the work that I do on here. If you enjoy TRRS and you enjoy tuning in each and every day and you want to support the show, please do subscribe. Why do I need to go to the eye doctor? It wasn't because it's because sometimes, Dr. Magan, it's not that I can't see, it's that sometimes people make typos and I have to, on the fly, just if I don't understand something, wonder if there's a typo and then try and interpret what the intention was. It's not that I can't see. I can see just fine. In fact, I don't even need these glasses. Not only do I have brothers that I've never spoken about, I also don't need these glasses either. They're purely for show, purely aesthetic. Typos in chat. I know. It's hard to believe. I know it's hard to believe, Chad, when you're totally perfect and you always speak and think and type perfectly clearly, but you every now and then something does slip through. It's like I don't even know you, man. It's fine. I don't think Rob has ever been so passive aggressive at this moment. No. No. Anyway, like, we can keep talking about whatever developments. Okay, Johnny, I'm not a francophone. Okay, let's be reasonable here. Rob's going to come on stream tomorrow wearing Jesse Plemons rose glasses asking what kind of Americans we are. These are the closest I have. I've been bringing these out. I've been bringing these ones out lately. What kind of Americans are you? Yeah, I've been bringing these ones out. It was quite a look today. That was my like walking my kid to school look in full Canadian tuxedo. And these glasses, jean jacket, jeans, and Palestine hoodie and hat. It's really quite a look. I gotta say, like, I don't want to be arrogant or anything. I don't think anyone at my kid's school is serving looks the way I am on a day in, day out basis. I think more of the parents need to get on my level. Frankly. You know, I don't want to be conceited. I don't want to be narcissistic. I'm not seeing a lot of parents serving the kind of looks that I'm routinely delivering at that school. You know? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we can keep talking about this, like, whole developing World War III situation if you want to. What do you think? Has there really been any new developments? We can turn on some videos. We can wheel in the TV stand. Let's doomer our tits off. Well, has there been any new updates? Like the last we left off, basically, we were, asking, all the reporting is like, how is Israel going to respond? Even though there's no need for them to respond. Is Iran's attack over the weekend was deliberately designed to not escalate things any further, and they specifically said we consider this over for now. But they're still apparently vowing to retaliate. So, who knows? I think, like we were saying yesterday. Let me just change the title here. Like, when we talk about this, I really try not to, like, go too far or so we're doomed or, like, World War III's on the horizon, any of this stuff. Because it feels like we've been hovering on that edge for so long now. Like, since when? Maybe since Russia invaded Ukraine. Maybe since the assassination of Soleimani. It's felt like we're on the brink of this absolute disaster now for multiple years. And like I was saying, team nothing ever happens is often vindicated, and I don't want to breathlessly say, oh, it's coming, it's happening, Iran also now knows where everybody on the board stands and where all their defensive measures are on the map without revealing anything everybody else wasn't already aware of. That's absolutely true, Johnny. And like I was saying earlier, and like I was saying in this podcast with Nima from earlier as well, didn't use any of their fancy equipment, which they do have. So yeah, learned a whole bunch of information about its enemies while revealing nothing. Justin Potter said in last night's sit rep with Elmer that he thinks World War III started months ago, and he's been saying it for a while. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like I was thinking today, thinking back to a few months before the Russian invasion of Ukraine happened, and doing segments on this show about that. And I was specifically saying we don't need to start World War III over the Ukraine. That was like one of the segments that we did. And it's like, obviously no one listened to little old me, little old us, even though we were trying to warn people about what was going on. But perhaps that was just the first domino to fall, and just everything that's happened since then has just been bringing us along this path, you know? We've been hovering on this moment since at least 1955, as evidenced by this piece by Mao. I mean, is this Mao on World War III? That's always very, very good to read. I don't think that's the specific one that we were talking about. I think the Mao World War III quote that often comes up, Sam, is the, we'll try to avoid it, but we won't fear it. And also pointing out the way that, like, the world wars in the past have led directly to socialist revolutions in major countries, major spheres of influence. First in Russia, then in China, and elsewhere in these anti-colonial movements. I don't think the Mao bit accounts for nukes. Not really, no. But I mean, he does mention in this piece here that Sam just sent across, which could be worthwhile. Because we have an expression. We can just read this whole thing. Today, the danger of a world war and the threats to China come mainly from the warmongers in the United States. They've occupied our Taiwan and the Taiwan Straits and are contemplating an atomic war. We have two principles. First, it is what I was talking about. First, we don't want war. Second, we will strike back resolutely if anyone invades us. Okay, it's actually different. Excuse me. We have two principles. First, we don't want war. Second, we'll strike back resolutely if anyone invades us. This is what we teach the members of the Communist Party and the whole nation. The Chinese people are not cowed by U.S. atomic blackmail. Our country has a population of 600 million and an area of 9,600,000 square kilometers. The United States cannot annihilate the Chinese nation with its small stack of atom bombs. Even if the U.S. atom bombs were so powerful that, when dropped on China, they would make a hole right through the earth or even blow it up, that would hardly mean anything to the universe as a whole, though it might be a major event for the solar system. We have an expression, millet plus rifles. In the case of the United States, it is planes plus the A-bomb. However, if the United States with its planes plus the A-bomb is to launch a war of aggression against China, then China with its millet plus rifles is sure to emerge the victor. The people of the whole world will support us. As a result of World War I, the Tsar, the landlords, and the capitalists in Russia were wiped out. As a result of World War II, Chiang Kai-shek and the landlords were overthrown in China, and the East European countries and a number of countries in Asia were liberated. Should the United States launch a third world war, and supposing it lasted 8 to 10 years, the result would be the elimination of the ruling classes in the United States, Britain, and the other accomplice countries, and the transformation of most of the world into countries led by communist parties. World wars end not in favor of the warmongers, but in favor of the communist parties and the revolutionary people in all lands. If the warmongers are to make war, then they mustn't blame us for making revolution or engaging in subversive activities, as they keep saying all the time. If they desist from war, they can survive a little longer on this earth, but the sooner they make war, the sooner they will be wiped from the face of the earth. Then a People's United Nations would be set up, maybe in Shanghai, maybe somewhere in Europe, or it might be set up again in New York, provided the U.S. warmongers have been wiped out. That doesn't mean that it's going to be fun or easy. I think that also gets across. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's going to be no problem. But think about from Mao's perspective, someone that struggled through the most miserable conditions you can possibly imagine, to carry out this revolution and saw this big shift happen. You can see his perspective on that, right? Well, nuclear winter would not be ideal, Carrier Wave. That goes without saying. That goes without saying. That would be less than ideal. But maybe it's the Star Trek future, you know? And out of that emerges the socialist utopia, but of course long in the future, long after we're all in the ground. For some positive, happy thoughts. On the positive side, nuclear winter could lessen the effects of climate change. I mean, I definitely think that, like, I don't like whatever happens with nuclear war, whatever, you know, hopefully there will not be ever a nuclear war, nuclear winter. I do kind of suspect that we are going to end up blocking out the sun, though, rather than change anything about our economic system. That's what we're going to do. If we want to do, we're going to start trying to control the climate of the planet by spraying shit up in the atmosphere like in the Matrix. I think that's with some tech, the tech sector. Maybe not Elon Musk, but the next tech dipshit that rises up. The altruistic, utopian, libertarian tech dipshit that rises up. And they're going to propose this. What if we didn't stop using fossil fuels? Have you thought about this? What if we didn't stop using fossil fuels and we just blocked the sun? Genius. I love it. I love it. People reinvent the tree for 100th time. Yeah, we're going to use this mythical carbon capture technology. Well, where is this technology? How does it work? Well, it doesn't exist yet. That's the beauty of it. It can be anything we want it to be. It can be anything we want it. That's what's so great about it. It doesn't exist yet, but when it does, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. The greatest. It'll be the greatest carbon capture technology. More and more people are saying carbon capture. Beautiful carbon capture. We don't know how it works, how it exists. We don't know. But carbon capture is going to be the best form of climate policy. Okay, come on, that was not bad, right? I feel like it's getting better. Please, chat. Please back me up on this. Please, I'm begging you. My kid was bragging to me about how they had never been stung by a bee, and I started telling them it was because when I was a kid they were all over the grass and we had to be careful. Then I got really sad. Yeah. That's why. The reason you're not getting stung is because our ecosystem is dying, son, that has to live through the Mad Max future. Oh. I did everything right and they indicted me. Also similar to the MIC, the best capitalist systems to tackle climate change are the most expensive ones, and how well they work is irrelevant because the only goal is to funnel tax money back to the ruling class. I mean, it look no further than China, and the way China's actually doing the things that our governments say they want to do. China's actually doing them, actually using fossil fuels and saying, yeah, we're going to still keep using fossil fuels because we have to, but at least making this massive investment. They're actually doing stuff. They're building infrastructure. They're becoming the world leader in like batteries and solar panels and EVs, right? No, we can't have infrastructure. All we can have is EVs. So China, in addition to building infrastructure, becomes the global leader in EV production. And our leaders are like, hey, knock that off. Knock that off. You're making too many cheap EVs here. Well, I thought that was the point. I thought that's the whole climate strategy for the West, is transitioning to electric vehicles rather than vehicles that use fossil fuels, even with all the imperfections and all the ways that creates more problems. That's our whole strategy. And using the market. I thought this is what we're supposed to like. You're using like market incentives. The market is saying, look, here's a new source of green technology and electric vehicles. And it costs this much. It costs less than what the rest of the market is offering. So now the other companies have to compete with that. I thought we loved the market. I thought we relied on the market to figure this shit out. How is that not the market doing what's intended? Maybe if that was actually working, I would be compelled by some of these arguments. And they're blocking us from having access to cheap green technology. Our liberal and democratic governments, not the climate change denying reactionaries. It's our liberal governments who say we believe the science. We believe the scientists. Climate change is real. It's happening. No, you cannot get cars from China because that hurts the profit. That hurts the profits for the shareholders and the CEOs and board members of these auto manufacturers. In the same way that like if the state made just built housing and say it costs this much, would force the market to adjust itself, but they're not interested in doing that. Man, all the Cybertruck stuff that keeps coming out of them stalling on the road and just immediately having huge problems, just turning off when people are trying to drive. I saw one Cybertruck where like the gas pedal got jammed down and got stuck down. I saw someone putting a mirror Cybertruck. Which is basically invisible. Like it's basically invisible. This gigantic, like mirrored polygon. And it's like, how is any of this legal? But the cargo capacity is 6 whole bags of soil, exactly. Like, I wish I could afford a home, and then I look at Vietnam putting real estate barons to death, and I'm like, Lord, I've seen what you've done for others, and I just want a little of that for me. Yeah, I'm torn about it, Johnny, honestly, because, like, I don't think, like, I think it's important to talk about how unaffordable housing is, but, like, I also do think we need to kind of reevaluate what our needs are. Like, not to say that that's not hugely important. I honestly, I like renting my apartment. I've talked about this before. I like renting my apartment. I don't feel like I need to live in a house with like 3 floors and all that stuff in a driveway and a suburb. I don't really want to be financially responsible for that. Well, you like renting, it's weird, but like the thing is, if housing was affordable, it would be one thing, but like when you're making this huge financial investment to own a home and then you're like financially responsible for like upkeeping it, it's no longer really like reasonable. Maybe in a perfect world where actual ownership was actually attainable, it would be one thing. But like, I like the freedom of renting. I like the fact that I'm not tied down to anywhere, that I could leave if I wanted to. I'm not on the hook for like upkeep or like taking care of anything in my apartment, I like where I live. You know, I do. I don't really feel a big need to change that. But I'm also like, Montreal is one of the places that's just like, even though the housing situation has gotten worse, I feel like it's probably better here than almost any other city. For sure, the apartment that I live in would not be able to afford in most major cities in North America. Like, I was talking to someone the other day about apartments in Brockville, Ontario, where I grew up. Brockville, Ontario. And I think a comparable apartment to where I am right now in Montreal, in a super nice neighborhood, nice building, fairly large apartment, it would actually be more expensive in Brockville, Ontario, to live on King Street in Brockville, Ontario, than to live in this like cool place in Montreal, Quebec. What accounts for the affordability of Montreal? I'm surprised because it's legit a cool city. I mean, part of it goes back to like 30 years ago, the whole referendum stuff, because like real estate prices around that time just totally plunged. Like when I moved here at first, it was ridiculous, and it's gone up a lot over the 20 years that I've lived here, but it's still nowhere near comparable to the rest of the country. Like, it's crazy to me that it would be more expensive to live in an apartment in fucking Brockville, Ontario, the shitty, boring town I grew up in, than currently where I am. Ontario is run by crooks, probably on account of the incentivization of criminal behavior. You know, that's true, but like, Montreal is as well. Montreal is a really cool place, but Montreal, like every other major city, is controlled by like a consortium of like real estate developers and crooked construction companies and like political officials that do their bidding, you know, and cops and the police. Like, I don't want to say that there's some situation in Quebec where there's no criminality or corruption. There's massive amounts of corruption. Although it is true, Bert Hampson, Quebec does have more of a working class culture and more of a history of support for unions and other things like that. So there's that element as well. I think part of it was that it was built up like a capital city, and then there was a huge exodus after the referendum, leaving lots of supply. Yeah, I mean, that's one interesting thing about Montreal, St. Lotus, is that like in the 70s, like they were predicting Montreal was supposed to be like a world-class like Miami or London or Toronto or New York style city. And you can tell they started developing that, and the development never got out to all these reaches where they had planned it to. I think that might describe literally every city in North America. No, it's true. It does absolutely describe every city in North America. It's run by a cartel of crooked real estate developers, crooked politicians, and crooked police, as they're the armed faction, you know? And a place like Montreal, where we elect a progressive mayor, Valérie Plante, who's done a couple of neat things, right? And is like green and progressive, and I'm going to invest in transit. But like, you can't touch the police, even if you campaign against the police, as she did, on cutting the police budget. Even when you get elected, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm cutting transit and giving that money to the police, by the way. Because you can't. Or something bad's going to happen to you if you do. I know I've mentioned this before, but when I lived in Montreal, Côte des Neiges working class neighborhood, we paid $375 a month for a smallish bachelor studio in 2009. Yeah, I mean, I lived in a like a 4, 5 or 6 bedroom apartment with 3 other roommates off Saint Laurent Street for years, and I paid like $250 a month for several years. Montreal feels like a more healthy of a city than Winnipeg now that I've lived here long enough to compare the two. I mean, it's definitely got more of an interesting sort of culture, in my opinion. I've only been to Winnipeg very briefly, but I don't think they compare all that much. Winnipeg is an art scene. Well, I know there's cool stuff happening in any city, like whether you're talking about, Winnipeg or Edmonton or like any of these cities that might like be part of kind of a political culture in this country that I don't really connect with. In these major cities, of course, there's going to be cool stuff and cool art scenes and music and stuff, but I guess I just view, maybe I'm a snob, but I guess I just view Montreal as being a kind of another level of that kind of stuff. I'm going to be paying like almost $1,500 a month because we moved in during COVID when prices were low. My downstairs neighbors that live in basically the same layout as us are paying over $2,000 for the same apartment. A 1-bedroom. Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. Isn't Winnipeg the city filled with displaced Indigenous people? Well, I mean, I think every city in Canada has an element of that. I know when I was there, that was one thing I noticed about Winnipeg, where that it's especially bad. I don't want to suggest that it's like that's an exclusive factor of Winnipeg and nowhere else, but there's nothing below $2.5K in New Jersey that's a 2-bedroom. Yeah, I mean, I'll say, like where I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's pretty big. It's got 2 big bedrooms and like a living room, kitchen, nice neighborhood, and it is less than that. It's less than what you're paying currently, Johnny. So I feel very fortunate in that respect, and I guess that's one reason that I'm like I'm a lot more open to renting. If I felt like renting was absolutely destroying me to the same extent that it's happening in other places, I would probably feel very differently about it. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Johnny. I hear you. I think that does make sense. I guess that's why being where I am, I feel I have kind of a slightly different view of it. If I really felt like I was getting absolutely fucked on a month-by-month basis, I would probably have a lot stronger feeling about wanting to own something. So any more World War III talk we want to do? How much time I got here? About another hour. About another hour to go here. And remember, folks, if you're enjoying this program, it is the only way that I'm able to keep this show on the air is if people subscribe to the show. So if you do enjoy TRRS, you enjoy tuning in each and every day, please, if you can, subscribe to the program. Help me make this little number go up at the bottom of the screen. That's basically how I make a living, is from every single day trying to will that little number to go up. And if you enjoy the program, you like tuning into this show, you like the conversations, the analysis, the silliness, the dancing, the singing, the interviews, all the good times that we have on here. If you tune in and you enjoy this show, please subscribe if you can. Like I said, it's a shorter stream today. I don't have a huge amount of confidence that I'm going to get to the sub goal, but every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. The only reason you need a house for is so you can see you get a grill in the backyard. Yeah, that is not... I mean, listen, I get it. I get the appeal. I really do. You know? I really do. And maybe part of it is cope on my part. You know? Maybe part of it is cope. But it's just
you
like...
can count on me.
I've just kind of made my peace with just being in this position. I don't think I'm going to be...
You can count on me. You're
moving anytime soon or kind of changing anything anytime soon. So part of it is that I've just kind of like accepted that that's where I'm at. Bon, thanks for the gifted sub, and thank you, Joe, as well, for the gifted sub. Thank you to you both. Very, very kind of both of you. This will be my 4th straight week playing pickup ball Tuesday nights. Did you already do NBA playoff talk in the chit chat zone? Not really, Old Dutch. Probably will once it starts. I've been really tuned out to
talk you through all this.
I've been really tuned out. The Raptors season, like usually my prism through which I watch basketball is Raptors games. And it's just their season was just too disastrous. There's been a few like positive things to keep an eye on, but like it's just been painful. So I've really kind of checked out. I will probably watch the playoff games once it starts, but I've really not been watching a lot of hoops over the last couple of weeks. Baldwin's Ghost, thank you for the 2 gifted subs.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Oh boy, Majority Report, hello. Thank you, Majority Report, for the raid. Very much appreciated. Thank you to Majority Report. How's the Sam Cedar stream today? I hope it was good. I'm Rob Rousseau. It's nice to see you. Thank you for joining the stream. Please smash the follow button if you haven't already. And you can also subscribe to the show if you want to. And maybe that's a little forward. You just showed up here. If you do want to subscribe to this program, though, please do so, because I appreciate it a lot and it helps keep the show on the air. We're talking about all kinds of stuff, but briefly talking about the NBA season and how I've been completely checked out of the NBA season because the Raptors season, which is normally the team through which I kind of like appreciate NBA basketball. It's just been really depressing overall. And for me, basketball is an escape. It's an escape from whatever you have going on in your life. And when basketball starts to be a source of depression and you tune in and it's just like frustrating and upsetting, I don't need that. It's not that I'm a fair weather fan. It's not like, oh, fuck this team, I hate this team. I don't at all. In fact, there's a lot of good things, I think, to talk about, like upcoming Raptors seasons. They've got some nice pieces. I'm hoping they can get it together. I'm not giving up on the team, but overall it's just like I can't tune into this sport when it's just making me feel bad about myself. I watch basketball so I can avoid the bad thoughts, not so I can have more bad thoughts. Rob prefers winners. That's right. May 12th is the NBA lottery draw. We'll find out if the Raptors get the 6th pick or if it goes to the Spurs. I don't even want to, honestly, Kijiji, I don't even want to imagine. If they don't even get a pick this year. I'm going to be beside myself. Honestly, like the Spurs are a somewhat likable franchise because they're not like this major market. A lot of the players I've liked over the years, but it is frankly bullshit that, they were a good team in the early 90s, right? With David Robinson and Sean Elliott and that team. Robinson goes down to injury 1 year. They have one bad season after being a really good team, and they end up with one of the very best power forwards of all time in the draft after that. And then they have a 20-year run as one of the best franchises in basketball. They win, 4 championships in that time? And then Duncan, the 20 years of them being really good every single year. And then they lose Duncan. They go back to the draft, and they get another fucking generational talent in the draft. It's very frustrating. If you're a Spurs fan, I'm happy for you. Good job. But it's very frustrating. This has been multiple decades now. They've been bad like 3 years out of those decades. And every time they're bad, they end up picking up generational talents in the draft. Whereas there's other teams that are perpetually bad. They're bad every year. And they get high draft picks every single year. and they don't end up with anywhere close to a Tim Duncan or a Victor Wembanyama. Jokic made himself a star. I mean, that's true. I mean, that's because the Raptors front office has been pretty good finding guys in the second round and finding like interesting players. Missing out on Jokic, though, is tough. I would like to get one of these generational players. The Raptors do have Scotty Barnes. I really like Scotty Barnes. I think he does have the talent to be a all-NBA type player. Still not quite on the same level as like a Luka Doncic. Luka is a totally other example, considering the Mavericks got Nowitzki in the draft, went on a 20-year run with him, and then immediately picked up Luka Doncic as well. Also similarly unfair. Anyway, my point is I will be watching the NBA playoffs when they start, but I have been very checked out over the last couple of weeks of the season. Yeah, Luka is just absurd, Old Dutch. It's just not fair, honestly. It's just not fair. Listen. We're doing a World War III update. Do I have the time for this? I don't think I have the time for this whole thing. But you know what? Let's watch this video of my friend Justin Potter, as well as another former guest of the show, John Elmer. Very happy to be able to have spoken to and spend time with both of these guys. Let's look at their conversation. Mentioning Dirk, mentioning Luka, not mentioning Mavs legends Eddie Nahara and Rafe LaFrentz. I don't really remember Eddie Nahara, but Rafe LaFrentz, of course, got drafted by the Nuggets originally. I think he was drafted like 4th or 5th overall. Did have a nice career with the Mavericks later. Anyway, it's the boys. It's Justin Potter, John Elmer. What are Israel's options? You know, Iran responded in a very measured way. And by the way, just one final thing before we start this video. If you wanted to hear another conversation that I just had, oh shit, ass. Sorry. If you want to hear another really good conversation I just had about Iran, please listen to this conversation that I just had with Nima Shirazi of the Citations Needed podcast. Talked with him this morning and had a really great conversation with him. So please listen to that as well. And make sure you subscribe to the Insurgents podcast. But so Iran responded. They considered the matter concluded. It was a very measured response, telegraphed like multiple days in advance, almost designed not to initiate a counter response. And now Israel has apparently declared that they do intend to respond and escalate this thing even further. But let's hear Justin Potter and John Elmer talk about the situation. And again, I really do appreciate being tangentially connected to both these guys who I think do fantastic work.
All right, this is your Gaza War Sit Rep Day 192. No
I
end
never
in
get
sight.
used to that number. I can't get used to it no matter how many times I hear it.
Yeah, Day 192. So we're going to talk more about the missiles. We know a little bit more about Iran's attack.
I did not know that there had been music playing this entire time. I did not realize that. Here they go.
Issue with the word attack. I think it was an attack. Whether it was retaliatory or self-defense in nature or justified or whatever, I think it was still, when you launch missiles at another country, it's an attack. So I'm not going to apologize for using that word. So we're going to talk a lot more about that tonight. That's basically what we're going to talk about. But in some of the strategic aspects of it, what deterrence means, and what the strategy is that we are watching unfold. But first, some of the news. So Lebanon, interesting on the Lebanon front, the Golani Brigade, which had been fighting in Gaza, one of the early units to withdraw from Gaza, I guess, months ago, actually lost soldiers trying to infiltrate into Lebanon. That's what Hezbollah reports at Tal Ismail by explosive device. So I've heard several of these. Do they just try to walk in on foot?
Yeah, it's like the border's not super clear, and then they try to like come across it and plant listening devices that look like rocks and various things like this. It's sort of the low-level warfare that goes on that border for like the last 30 years.
And it's worth risking men to plant a surveillance device, because they've lost men doing this several times now.
Yeah.
Guess the information is worthwhile. On that note, Hezbollah also reports destroying surveillance equipment in Shaba Farms, Kafar Suba, and also attacking Israeli soldiers at Mitat Barracks and Horsh Hanita. So, usual busy. Hezbollah is busy. West Bank is very busy. Fighting in Tulkarm, Tubas, Jenin. I don't know. You've seen probably, John, lots of prisoners released from administrative detention at the same time as they're taking new prisoners.
Yeah, there's no room for them.
So they're just turning.
There's literally no room in their prisons anymore. So they're turning over. They've been doing it for a little while now, releasing them, not telling anyone they're getting released, releasing.
Chad, are you still with me? Sound off. Are you still with me? Are you still there? Mostly. Okay. No. Getting some no's. Getting some yeses. It's weird. I'm not getting any viewer numbers for whatever reason. Probably some weird Twitch stuff going on. Anyway, back to Justin and John.
Them. They've like more than doubled the prison population. And many of them are in camps, but
it's like 10,000 or so. And I think 3,300 and some are in administrative detention, which means essentially kidnapped. There's almost no legal basis for holding them. Settler rampages, lots of settler rampages. Armed settlers, Israeli settlers, running around, burning cars, destroying businesses, burning houses. Just, good old like Kristallnacht kind of pogroms.
Yeah, there's been more than 750 settler attacks since October 7th, like recordable.
Right. Gaza, we saw, I'm sure you'll break down, but there's more quadcopter type drones that they're downing and taking over, taking them completely intact.
Not a scratch on them. They're landing them completely. And Islamic Jihad showed us the first footage of it in the air. So previously they just showed us them in custody.
In custody,
but
yes.
They don't have a scratch on them. So it's not even like they're taking them over and like almost landing them. They're completely landing them. They're commandeering them in the air and landing them perfectly. And these are like, it's not clear what these drones are for. They're not military drones. They have military drones that are encrypted. And these are just commercial. These are commercial drones that, I mean, the main evidence that we have of them is.
I just ate a sticker. Just FYI.
TikTok videos.
Right. Maybe that's what they're for. Maybe they're just to make videos. So lots of fighting in Nusayrat again. It's shaping up to be another battle there after Khan Yunis, because it was a raid, but it's been going on for days, and there's shelling. They're reporting mortars. They're reporting a fairly big ambush a little while ago, a couple days ago. So major fighting there. Lots of bombing. Israelis are bombing Jabalia. They bombed Rafah. Lots of tortured people coming back from detention as well, with lots of reports of harrowing torture. Children having been tortured. Speaking of quadcopters, you probably saw a story about the quadcopter that plays cries of people to try to draw civilians out in order to kill them. So that's a new low. If we can imagine a new low, we've got that. And then people trying to return to their homes in the north, I guess along the beach kind of road, or come under attack from sea and artillery. And so they kind of abandoned that.
Yeah, a child was shot in her mother's arms.
On that road, walking that road.
Yeah, making it clear that people aren't able to go home, and enforcing their military occupation by shooting children in their mother's arms, by flying quadcopters that act like crying children. It's like a very meticulous depravity.
Yeah, disciplined in its own way. So the U.S., speaking of disciplined depravity, the U.S. is just trying to figure out how many billions they have to give Israel now. So is it going to be 95? I saw 95 billion. That's the biggest one I've ever seen. 17.6 billion. Apparently they spent 1.3 billion yesterday. So that 95 billion could go up in smoke fairly quickly. I saw financial figures that Israel has borrowed double. So they borrowed something like 20 billions last year, and this year they've borrowed, it went up from 2022, and then 2023 it's in the 40s, and they think they're going to need another 50 billion to prosecute this war. So financial situation's not looking so great. But they so before we get into the missiles and deterrence and the attack,
I've seen and read shit in the last 6 months that's changed me forever, says Carrier Wave, and me too, Carrier Wave. And just reading about, I was walking around and I didn't get the context for that comment, but just reading about Shifa Hospital and what's being uncovered there is, I don't even know what words, it's just unbelievably fucked. Like, it's shocking. And I didn't know that I had the capacity to still be shocked. And it's not like the shock isn't just from the violence and the depravity of it, but it's about like the way this is viewed as being somehow normal, and the way that our media class, who lectures everyone about their fucking values, and all our political leaders that lecture everyone around the world about their values, the way that they're just like letting it happen, you know? It's genuinely fucking shocking.
There's been some talk. The Israelis have said they have no choice. They've told the Americans they have no choice but to respond. So I guess we'll have to talk about what they could do.
Yeah, and just before we finish up on Gaza, though, it looks like their Israelis are fixing to reinvade Beit Hanun.
Bodies with IVs still hooked up in mass graves, historic levels of depravity. Yeah, people in casts. Like, and we've already seen like bodies that have been run over by tanks and bulldozers, like with their hands tied and stuff like that. We're seeing this over and over. We're hearing stuff about door to door, like death squads, people's families being murdered and stuff. Like, it's fucked. And no one can claim they didn't know it's being live streamed to our phones. Yeah, and I mean, like, Carrier Wave, like, there was this real effort in the lead up to World War II to hide information about what was happening to Jews in the lead up to World War II, but still that information was out there as well. turning away the boats of Jewish refugees and stuff. Like, that information was out there. But there was still kind of this plausible deniability about, we just had no idea what was going on. Now there's no such thing. And I don't believe that. I think our ruling class did very well know what was going on when it came to the Holocaust. But now there's no such plausible deniability. Like, now you can't say, we just didn't know. Like, we know it's being done right out in the open, in full view of everyone. Absolute insanity.
In the north, which is the first place that they entered Gaza back in November.
Do we know which unit or no?
No, I don't know who it is actually, but the people living in the shelters are reporting the war all around them in Beit Hanun. Like apparently a ground incursion. I saw some footage from inside an Israeli armored vehicle. They're broadcasting on their Instagram live or whatever it is, giving away positions, talking in the back of their armored vehicle, invading Beit Hanun.
Yeah, maybe they'll try to avenge their humiliation.
And it's not clear what's happening in Nusrat. I don't if that's expanding their buffer zone, trying to make that a permanent situation.
The first photographic documentation of a concentration camp was published by a Soviet photographer somewhere on the Eastern Front as they pushed back, and the US and UK outright stated it was a lie and propaganda. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in Devil's Chessboard about how, like, there were people, like, there were Germans in some cases, like, at great personal expense, trying to alert people about what the Nazis were doing. And because of the Alan Dulles wing of the intelligence apparatus, they were preventing that information getting to who it needed to get to. That's why it's one of the main reasons the U.S. took so long to get into the war in the first place. It might have happened a lot sooner, but there was this specific effort on the part of the Nazi sympathizing Dulles brothers to prevent that information from getting where it needed to go. It was like what Alan Dulles and the Dulles brothers were doing at that time was like outright treasonous. Like, this is the thing that doesn't really get talked about enough. And then this faction was allowed to live following the war and just took over the whole government. And then when a president tried to wrestle power back from this faction, it is Israel talk, Crystal. It is. I'm just going back to this idea about, like, the Holocaust, how, like, no one knew what was going on, which isn't exactly true. People did know, but there was still kind of like plausible deniability. But now you can't say, we didn't know what was going on, because there's more than enough information out there. If you still don't know what's going on, it's because you're purposely, intentionally not learning what's going on, or you support what's going on, which is, I think, more likely the case. Yes, please buy my new merch, by the way, well, on that subject of that fateful day in Dallas in October 1963. Yeah, and he has a fucking airport named after him. It's insane. It's insanity.
Like a longer term situation to try to push people back off that corridor that they're being hit along Netzarim Junction, splitting the north from the south.
Let's just put up a map again. Why not?
Yeah, so they pushed down through Zahra. Yeah, and so now they've pushed down to Nusrat there.
But again,
and Street 10 is where the Palestinians can access.
Is that this one or this one?
Up high,
this one here.
Go in a little closer. I think you zoomed in.
Number 10 here.
Yeah, street number 10. So that's the corridor.
So
Israel's building a highway.
There was a perfectly good highway there. And Beit Hanun is up here, right?
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah, northeast.
So
and bombing in Jabalia, and there's no functioning hospital for the casualties. So it's just, I think this is the thing we talked about. This period feels like a dangerous period where we have this kind of interim from the ground invasion, but For the people of Gaza, it doesn't change anything. They're bombed from the air. And if anything, the ground invasions, the Israelis tell them roughly where that's going to be, and the civilians can actually, know where the space is. But the aerial bombardment just hits people in their houses. So.
On the last tanky therapy we're on, Justin said it's for the better that it's out of our hands now, which is something I started thinking when Yemen stepped in. We're going to have a rude awakening here, and frankly, we have it coming. I mean, I don't disagree with you. Again, Kerry, like what's been talking about, it's been so frustrating for me. Like when I talked about Yemen a few months ago, and all these fucking people, and all the community notes came out, and all the human rights respecters, and the precious Western having their sensibilities challenged by this all come out. And I just don't, like I've been talking about recently, I talked about it with Justin on Sunday, I talked about it with Nima today, just this tendency right now when there's people materially putting skin in the game to support Palestinian resistance and actually stand up to Israel, Yemen, Iran, and the fact that people are going like, how don't support, no, you can't support Iran. No, now you can't, that's going too far. We can criticize Israel, but we can't support this reactionary theocratic regime that does all these terrible things. And it's just like, this is the most annoying fucking tendency from people in Canada and the United States of all places to decide that is the time to bring out your big criticisms. Don't suggest Iran as anti-imperialist. Don't suggest Iran is doing anything positive. Well, you can't say that about Ansar Allah or the Houthis. Don't you know they believe in all these terrible things and they do all these terrible things? It's like, it's just so embarrassing. Honestly, it's frustrating that people can't.
You can count on me.
Very
have
clear
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Demarcation between these two sides here. Diego, thank you for the gifted sub. When will we be free of the Trotsky mind virus? Well, this is the thing, Moss, is that like you kind of think that in situations like this, as horrific as they are going to wake people up to like the reality of like how geopolitics actually works and what the West is, you know. And you might think sometimes that that's what's happening, and then these kind of conversations come up, and so many fucking people still keep getting it wrong. Nothing has ever been as theocratic as the West. Yeah, we're literally governed by like religious fundamentalists, and Israel as well is also, of course, run by religious fundamentalists as well. Like Jesus Christ, and like I was saying with Nima today, it's not even that there's not criticisms to be made, or it's nothing on these places. Like you don't want the revolution to be perfect, you want it to be flawless. You know, it's not like there's not things that we could talk about or have some kind of conversation about, but at this moment in time, when there's such a clear right and wrong, and we beg and plead for our own governments to step in, we beg and plead for our allies and these Gulf state regimes to step in and fucking do something, and then the people that start doing something, we say, not like that. No. That makes me very uncomfortable. That makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to be seen as supporting one of these regimes, you know, hardcore Trotskyites. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a cousin of the discourse about like, oh, you're bringing paraglider signs to the protest. That makes me very uncomfortable because now I get asked uncomfortable questions about this movement, that it supports terrorism, that supports this or that. So I'm going to police people's like slogans. I'm going to police their clothes. I'm going to police their signs, you know, and just shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, even if you have a problem with it, even if it does make you uncomfortable for someone to hold a sign of a paraglider at one of these protests, even if it does, no one cares. Just shut up. Just shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? It's not, you're contributing nothing. You're doing nothing. You know? It's so annoying. Just shut up. as I've said, I'm going to forever remember those images of those paragliders. You know? And you know what? They were escaping from a prison. People jumping on homemade paragliders to escape a nightmarish concentration camp is a beautiful and inspiring
use the computer
thing.
To mark up the size of the account.
You aren't helping your cause, says local man who opposes your cause.
And thank you for the 200 bits, Joe. And you know what? And I think that undercuts possible good work that gets done. I feel this is how I feel about a lot of the British leftists that have kind of gotten to these somewhat influential media positions, like Novara, like Owen Jones. I don't want to be a prick. I think both Novara and Owen Jones do some solid journalism and even do solid commentary about this issue. They're certainly better than any other mainstream media institution, but they devalue the own actual good work they're doing by doing this kind of stuff, doing this performative, apologetic stuff. You saw the same thing. Oh, it's using that same language. Oh, it was the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Talking about October 7th like it was basically this massive hate crime, you know? And then whatever good commentary that you're doing after, talking about trying to criticize Israel, trying to talk about this subject, you just undercut that whatever good work you're doing. You know? So just shut the fuck up. You don't have, no one can, the people that you're trying to impress with these apologetics, apologizing for everything. Oh, the signs, the slogans. Oh, no, we can't say that. We can't do this. We can't support this. We can't be seen to supporting this group. It doesn't actually appeal to anyone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change. None of these people that support Israel or support whatever awful place are all like, oh, now I'm going to take you seriously. Now I'm going to listen to you. Now I'm going to view you as being on some kind of equal side of a debate. They do not. They do not care. So whatever criticisms you have, even if you're communicating something that does make you feel uncomfortable or whatever it is, it has no, all it does is undercut whatever good work you're going to do. It doesn't appeal to anybody. It helps nothing. It's just bullshit. And yeah, and thank you. Yeah, Carrier Wave, from that statement from Mohammed Al-Kurd. Their above average coverage is not a gift bestowed on us. It's simply a matter of journalists doing their jobs. It doesn't give them the license to police our movement. Yeah, I mean, that's just amplifying this narrative about these two young women at a pro-Palestine protest having images of paragliders who then get faced with fucking charges over these images, contributing, throwing gasoline on that, contributing to that climate. It's like, what are you doing? Why? How is that helping? So this is something that I've been routinely frustrated about for years now doing this show. And then I think that time is the ultimate example of that. And I want to make sure to be fair here, right? Because I do think there's people in these groups that do good work on this. But that's my exact criticism of some of these people, is that they undercut that good work that they might do later by fanning the flames of the very kind of narratives that the people on the other side of this are trying to create. They're maintaining their position. And I think catalepsy, I mean, that's something that I said on that day, on October 7th, that will probably be following me around anytime I try to get any kind of job for the rest of my life. But that's exactly what I said. It's like, if everyone wants to support Palestine until it's time to start thinking about your media career, you know? And it's like, you do see a lot of that. And that's one thing that I told myself I was just not ever going to do. I don't know. I don't want to toot my own horn here. It's one thing I told myself, if I'm going to develop a platform on Twitch or Twitter or podcasting or whatever the fuck, I'm not going to, when it comes down to it, I'm not going to pull my punches. I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to say the things that need to be said. That's one thing about my career that I've managed to have that I am proud of. Anyway, bit of a rant there. Let's attack our own people to show the other side that we're legit. What do you even say to a moron who thinks that we're not in a fight to the death against our enemies? This isn't a game where there are rules both sides will abide by. Yeah, and it's a liberal tendency, right? Because you see this exact same thing with like mainstream liberals and Democrats, always trying to like appease the other side or show how reasonable they are, how much they agree with one another. Random Finkelstein quote for us all to enjoy. Mr. Borelli, I'm going to ask you to stop displaying your imbecility. Do not put on public display that you are a moron. He doesn't understand the words. He doesn't understand. Mr. Tortellini. God, what a fantastic bit that was. Anyway, let's go back to Justin and John. We're only 10 minutes into this thing. I'm going to have to get going soon, so I guess we just get a little bit of a taste of this talk, but I'll make sure to link it for folks if you want to watch the rest of it, because both of these guys are fantastic.
It just feels like this is a period that can go on for a long time because Israel doesn't have troops on the ground that are being killed. Being killed, but they have an air force and artillery on the border that really has no limits. So, and if they don't believe they're getting their prisoners back alive, there's not like an urgency. I mean, there obviously hasn't been an urgency for them at all, but it feels like this period is, just a really dangerous period where
I did not know that, Marty. And Alien is going to be back in theaters for the 45th anniversary. I'm going to have to check if there's a showing in Montreal, because I'll absolutely go to that.
It's deadly for Palestinians. It goes back to the air war period of October. You know, when people in
before
Gaza,
the invasion,
when kids were chanting, "We want a ground invasion," because the aerial bombardment and artillery is just so cowardly and so deadly. Yeah.
Well, you can't do it forever without ground troops, I've come to realize. So if it's just bombing, there's nothing stopping people from not only going back to their homes, but also going and tearing the fence down. That only ground troops can stop that. So this is
I mean, you're watching civilians basically doing civil disobedience, right? Like what they did was they thought that if they went in numbers, that there would be some safety in going in numbers. And so they went up that corridor along the sea to try to go to their houses, because people in Khan Yunis are going to their houses, and people are the living in the camps. It's not safer in the camps.
That's right.
And they're horrifying. The conditions are unspeakable in these camps. The lack of water and hygiene and food, the lack of shelter, the makeshift tents, because Israel's not even allowing proper tents to come in. So all the tents are makeshift tents, and people would rather go and live in their bombed out houses than live in these conditions. And I remember I remember Finkelstein saying that all Palestinians should just march to the border, right? He used to say that years ago.
He said that before 2018.
Yeah, before
then
2018.
They did it in 2018.
And then they did it and got massacred. Well, they got maimed, right? Like that was the most cruel when they would just shoot to maim people. But yeah, the idea that if the world could see all Palestinians just non-violently, trying to assert their rights. Well, you're seeing that. You're seeing it on CNN. It's CNN that's reporting the child killed in her mother's arms. It's there to be seen for everybody, that these people are just, carrying out their elementary dignity, and the Israelis, they just killed them. With various methods.
Yeah, I agree, Bertrand's militia.
But if they're gonna sit offshore,
this has somehow surpassed all of our worst expectations of what was going to happen. which is shocking because my expectations were extremely low.
With the plan to shoot anybody who tries to go back to their homes, then they have to sit offshore. And if they can reach them with those weapons, then they can be reached. So strategically speaking, this is not sustainable for them either. So sooner or later, we're going to see the resistance adapt to this situation as well, the way they've adapted to the hospital attacks, right? The way that they adapted to the Shifa attack the second time. So everything that the Israelis do, they get to do. Every nasty anti-civilian thing they do, they get to do a few times, and then the resistance figures it out. It's a contest of how low they can go on one side and how fast they can adapt on the other side. So are we ready?
Yeah, I just wanted to get that last part in because that's just happening tonight. So in day at noon.
Okay, so that's new. That's sort of breaking.
So you'll be sit repping that probably in coming days.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we know that's new? So we both, you did.
Well, I actually really looking forward to listening to this, and I think I'm going to listen to this after we finish up here. I mean, those two are always great, and that was a good jumping off point for a lot of good discussion. So make sure you first of all subscribe to Justin's content at the Anti-Empire Project. The work he and John and others have been doing on there has been really terrific. So make sure you support that and subscribe to that. So I'm going to have to get going, folks. I mentioned it's a shorter stream today, but it has been a good one. I've still enjoyed spending time with you. Israel likely won't be done until they finish what they've always wanted to do, and they won't be stopped until another military power steps in, but at this point it looks like it might be Iran. I do not celebrate a loss of life, but I do hope that this can lead to a whole and complete Palestine. I mean, Johnny, as I was mentioning the other day when I did the episode on the Anti-Empire Project with Justin and others, like I talked about this kind of like the tension between this feeling that you have of just wanting someone to step in and wreck Israel after seeing 6 months of just this completely depraved, horrifying criminal violence. You just have this need to for that to happen, even though also recognizing that there's no guarantee that won't just make things even worse for the people in Gaza and everywhere else. So it's hard, and that's exactly why Iran's response that we've been talking about was interesting, because it was pointedly didn't escalate things, and was designed to not do that. You had a good analogy for that, the playground thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you see the big bully beating the shit out of someone, and you just want to see someone kick their teeth in. It's not complicated. It's a totally human response. But when this bully is a nuclear-armed, psychopathic, religious fundamentalist ethno-state with the full backing of the largest military and economy in the world, it becomes a little bit more complicated. You still want to see someone step in, but it's like, this might really lead to an even worse disaster for everybody. Anywho, I do have to get going. I am at 7 out of 35 subs for the day, folks. Mentioned it's a shorter stream. I get that. I had less time. I was working on that podcast. But once again, if you can, whether you're a long-time community member, if you came here from the raid, if you're a lurker, if Twitch's algorithms somehow brought you over here, I don't know. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, if you're looking at this right now and you want to support this program, support the work that I do every day here on Twitch, join the community, get all the tiny little images, some of the very, very best tiny little images on the entire platform of twitch.tv. And we become friends.
You can count on me.
Like, that's the most important thing as well.
To talk you through all this.
We become friends when you join the friendship triangle system. That's social media's only two-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. We become friends.
You can count on me.
And you become friends with everyone else as well.
Talk you through all this.
Chaos the Gardener, thanks for the 3 gifted subs. Thank you, Chaos. I appreciate it. And thank you very much, Lodane, for gifting a sub to Dr. Awesome. That's very kind of you, Lodane. Thank you. Are there any other fine folks before we say goodbye for the day? Any other fine folks that would like to support TRRS, the show that you are currently watching, the show that you know and love, that you tune into every single day sometimes?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
We stan a rib.
Pathogen, thank you very much for the 23 months tier 1. Thanks, Pathogen.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Sam, for the sub as well. Appreciate that. Appreciate you, Sam. Thank you. You got Ugopnik streaming right now. He's doing a World War III stream. Perhaps that's what we'll do. We are one sub or one gifted sub away from a hype train as well. One measly gifted sub would probably get that going also.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Anon, thank you very much for the gifted sub. Thank you, Anon. Very cool.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And another gifted sub from Lodane. Jesus, Lodane, thank you very much. I will get used to us. The UK is banning smoking. Anyone born after 2006 will never be allowed to buy cigarettes. I mean, I don't really know how I feel about that. I don't like smoking. I think smoking is bad. I think especially like the tobacco industry is like quite evil. At the same time, like anytime like you're trying to, for public health reasons, banning cigarettes, it's just going to create a black market. I mean, people are just going to smoke cigarettes. You know, it's just people are going to do it. People are just going to do it regardless. You know, people know it's unhealthy. They're just going to get it, and it's just going to, like any kind of vice like that, it's just going to empower the black market. It's going to empower organized crime. It's going to, like, fuck. It just makes it expensive and makes a lot of nasty people really rich. I'm smoking my tobacco pipe in my study full of leather-bound books. I always like that smell of pipe tobacco. It's nice. Are there before final chance, folks? Final chance. I know people are chomping at the bit to subscribe to this program. Well, no, I'm sorry, but you won't have another opportunity to. Okay, I'm drawing a line in the sand here. No more, but you have one more chance. Okay? For anyone that's been hemming and hawing over the last couple minutes, want to support this program, this show that you're watching currently, help keep this show on the air. Now's the time. You got one opportunity. Like Eminem said in that song. You had one chance, one opportunity. Would you take it? Remember, it's not just about supporting this show. It's about improving yourself. It's about improving your own life. Right? That's what it's about. Are you going to take the step to improve your own life? Everyone's alienated, isolated. Do you want a community that's going to love and respect you for who you are? You have an opportunity to have that. And you're going to sit there and not take it. You're going to sit there and not take it. Wow.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all
personally.
This.
Destabilization. Here we come.
Kikuza, thank you very much for the 3 months tier 1. Thank you very much, Kikuza. I appreciate it. Only this community understands you. Exactly. This is my big Alec Baldwin style pitch to people. We're gonna play on all your psychological emotions and all that stuff. I gotta go though. I gotta go pick up my kid from school. So, sorry you missed your chance. Sorry. No more. Cut off. You're cut off now. Any subscriptions that happen for the next minute now just don't count. They don't count. You don't get the benefits now. I tried to offer you my hand, and you smacked it away.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Wow, Dr. Maggot. Wow. It's insulting. That's like the sub equivalent of a slap in the face. Unbelievable. No more though, for real though. You're cut off. I don't want to hear it. Chat, you know I love you. I'm just using psychological tactics on you to try to move units for the Twitch Corporation, Amazon subsidiary. You know I love you, chat. I have to try and manipulate you psychologically. I'm forced to. It's coercion. I can't live if I don't do this.